Anne Boleyn, one of the most enigmatic figures of the Tudor dynasty, is often painted as the archetypal ambitious woman who schemed her way to the throne. Yet, hidden beneath layers of history, the truth of her early encounters with King Henry VIII reveals a somewhat different story, one where Anne exhibited resistance rather than pursuit. In the Grand Tudor palaces, King Henry VIII was known for his insatiable appetite for power and women. Anne Boleyn entered his life as a lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine of Aragon, her youth and vivacious spirit catching the monarch's eye almost immediately. But instead of succumbing to the pressure of his attentions, Anne chose a different path, unlike her sister Mary Boleyn, who had once been Henry's mistress. Henry was relentless in his advances, yet Anne was resolute in her refusals. She harbored ambitions, yes, but not ones that sought to bind herself as a mistress to the king, a position she viewed as compromising and fraught with potential disgrace. Anne yearned for a life of honor and respect, far removed from the whispers of courtly scandal. Henry's pursuit was unwavering. He showered Anne with gifts and compelling letters filled with promises and professions of love, assuring her she would never regret accepting his affections. Anne remained unmoved. She understood that becoming his mistress would only make her a pawn with limited influence. But as his wife, she could strive for legitimate power and change. Determined to escape his relentless pursuit, Anne withdrew from court, retreating to her family's estate at Hever Castle. This was not a calculated move to seduce the king from afar, but a genuine attempt to distance herself from his potent allure. However, Henry was not dissuaded by her absence. He frequently visited Hever, riding into the countryside to persuade Anne to return to his side. Anne's father, Thomas Boleyn, himself an ambitious courtier, was an unlikely ally, aware of the potential his daughter held if she eventually embraced Henry's offers. Yet Anne remained steadfast, unmoved by familial pressure. Anne resisted as long as she could, but her defiance only fueled Henry's desires. He insisted, promising her not just love but marriage, a status that would elevate her beyond any mistress. Henry's persistence and assurances eventually coaxed Anne back to court, where the game of courtship continued. At last, faced with mounting pressure and recognizing she could wield much greater influence as the king's wife rather than as his mistress, Anne conceded to Henry's proposal. History may have painted Anne as the temptress who chased after the crown, but in truth, she was the pursued, cornered by Henry's determination and societal expectations. Anne's story, often misconstrued, was not one of ambition driving her into Henry's arms, but rather a tale of a woman trying, within the confines of her era, to maintain her independence and dignity. Ultimately, it was Henry's unyielding courtship and the promise of power and change that persuaded Anne to marry him, leading her to a throne fraught with peril. Her legacy is not merely one written in the shadow of her tragic end, but in the strength and refusal to accept the role of a mere mistress, shaping her eventual destiny as England's Queen Consort.